This lesson is on simple interest. What is interest? Interest is the amount of money paid to borrow money. There are going to be several times throughout your life where you're going to need to borrow money. Maybe to buy a new car or to buy a house. Could possibly borrow money for school loans to go to college or for your children to go to college. You could borrow money to pay for your wedding or later on in life pay for your child's wedding. And when you borrow money, you're going to usually borrow it from the bank or some kind of lending institution. And they're not going to say, okay, I'll give you this $5,000 loan and you just pay me back X amount of dollars every month. No, they're in business to make money. And the way they make money is to charge you a fee to borrow their money. So that fee that you have to pay, in addition to the money that you borrowed, that's called the interest. Okay. Sometimes you have a certain savings account at your bank, and they pay you interest. And what they do is the money that you have in their bank, they use that to loan other people, to give as loans to other people. And so because they're using your money, they're borrowing your money, they pay you an interest rate. There are all different types of interest. The rates all vary. Sometimes it has to do with time. Sometimes the rates change as time goes by, you pay a lower interest amount. We're only going to deal with simple interest. And simple interest is a fixed percent of the original amount of money borrowed or deposited. So what that means is that if you borrow $5,000, the bank says, I'll give you that $5,000 loan, but you're going to pay me 13% of that $5,000 a year for however many years you get the loan. Okay, so that's simple interest. That's what we're going to deal with. Very, very important. Write this formula down in your notes and memorize it. I equals PRT. I equals PRT. The I stands for interest. It is a capital I. One thing about formulas is you need to be aware of when it's supposed to be capitalized or when it's lowercase. So just like capital A represents area of something, capital I represents interest. Capital P is your principal. And your principal is the amount of money that's being borrowed or being loaned. If you're borrowing that $5,000, that $5,000 is called the principal. R is your rate. Your rate is a percentage. Yes, I will loan you the money at a 3% or a rate of 3%. One thing about your rates is to put this into the formula, you have to change it to a decimal. It has to be written in decimal form. You cannot multiply by a percent number. It has to be converted to decimal, which we know how to do. And then the T stands for time. You need to know the time that you're going to have to repay the loan. And the time is for simple interest will always be in years. Make sure you have this in your notes. Pause the video if you need to, and then go on. Okay, let's do an example. Tommy deposits $200 into his savings account, which earns 3% simple interest per year. What is the total amount in Tommy's account after 2 years? Okay, so we need to find out the amount of interest that he's going to pay for the 2 years. So here's our formula, I equals PRT. Always make a list. List everything that you know. Do you know the interest? No, that's what we're looking for. That is our unknown. Do you know the P, capital P, principal? Principal is how much money the interest is applied towards. It's being applied towards the $200. So the principal is $200. The rate is your percent. It's a 3%, so the rate is 3%. And we need to convert that to a decimal, so you can do your DP and you get 3/100. Then your time is the number of years. We're told 2 years. So our time is 2. Now that we've listed our information, we can plug it all into our formula. So I is going to equal the principal, which is 200, times the rate as a decimal, the rate in decimal form, which is 300ths, times your time, which is 2. Okay, now we're ready to multiply. Do you remember our properties? Do you remember the commutative property, associative property, distributive property? Well, the associative property says that I can move these around the multiplication. I don't have to multiply them in order. I can switch it. So I'm going to switch it to make it a little bit easier for me. And in my head, I'm going to multiply 200 times 2. And that's going to be 400. Then I'm going to multiply that by my 3/10. So you can do the math off to the side on a sheet of scratch paper, the side of your paper, or maybe you can do it mentally and say, you know what, I'm going to multiply 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to put these 2 zeros at the end. I need 2 decimal places. There we go. So the amount of the interest is $12. So fill in your answer statement. After 2 years, Tommy's account balance will be, it's asking for the account balance, not the interest that he's paying in 2 years. So to get his balance, you have to add what he deposited into his bank, the 200, plus the interest. So it'd be $212. Once you've listed all your information, it is so easy to plug it into your formula and just do the math. Then all you have to do is make sure you're answering the correct question. So let's try another one. Annie borrows $400 on a 4-year loan. If she is charged 5% simple interest per year, how much interest will she have to pay? What is the total amount she has to pay back? So we've got 2 questions going on, and for both of them we need to know how much interest she has to pay. So we're going to go ahead, list our information. I, the interest, that's what we're looking for. The principal is how much she's borrowing, which is the $400. The rate is the percent, 5%, written in decimal form. So convert it to a decimal and you get 5/100. And the time is how many years? 4 years. We've listed our information. Now let's plug it into the formula. I is going to equal P, the principal, times the rate in decimal form, which is 5/100, times the time, which is 4. So again, I'm going to use the associative property so I can do some mental math. 400 times 4 is 1,600. And I'm going to multiply that by my 5/10. So you can do it off the side of your head, side of your paper, or you can do it in your head. I'll go ahead and multiply it out this time. I need 2 decimal places. So my interest is $80. So Annie will pay $80 in interest, and the total amount that she has to pay back is the $80 in interest plus what she borrowed, which is the $400. So she has to pay back a total of $480. Okay, homework tonight. Your percent applications worksheet packet, you're going to work problems 14 through 18. These are the simple interest problems. For each problem, it's already labeled for you, the IPRT, so you just need to fill in what you know. Show your work on the right-hand side. Show plugging these values into the formula and solving. And then make sure you answer or fill in the answer statements. Then turn the page. The video check is next. Here's your video check. Joey borrowed $2,000 to use as a down payment on a new car. The bank charged a rate of 7% simple interest per year. How much interest did he pay for a 5-year loan? Okay, you're going to complete this on your checklist. Make sure you fill in the IPRT, plug in the numbers into your formula, and make sure you have an answer statement.